When my grandson Jacob handed me his mother's phone that Thursday afternoon, his hands were shaking. He was only 14, but the look in his eyes was older, much older than any child should ever have to be. "Grandma," he whispered, "you need to see this." I didn't know then that those 4 words would shatter everything. I thought I knew about my own daughter. The phone felt heavy in my palm, heavier than it should have been. The screen glowed with a text conversation, and at the top, I saw my daughter Monica's name in a group chat with her husband Derek and someone listed only as Attorney M. My heart started pounding before I even read the first word. I should explain something first. I'm not the kind of woman who goes through other people's phones. I raised Monica to value privacy, to respect boundaries. But as I stood there in my kitchen, the same kitchen where I'd taught her to bake cookies, where we'd laughed over burnt pancakes and celebrated every small victory, I felt my finger scroll, almost against my will. The messages were clinical. Cold. They talked about me like I was a problem to be solved, an obstacle to be removed. Once we get her declared incompetent, the house transfers automatically. The dementia diagnosis from Dr. Richardson should be enough. She signed the POA last month. She has no idea what's coming. I read those words 3 times before they started to make sense, and when they did, I had to grip the counter to stay standing. My name is Eleanor Whitmore. And until 6 months ago, I thought I had the kind of life people write greeting cards about. I'm 68 years old, widowed for 5 years. And I live in the house my husband, Thomas, and I bought 42 years ago. It's a modest 3-bedroom colonial, in a quiet neighborhood where everyone knows everyone, where the maple tree in my front yard has watched generations grow up. After Thomas passed, Monica became my anchor. She'd call every evening, stop by twice a week with groceries, and invite me to Sunday dinners with her family. She was attentive, maybe too attentive, I realize now. She'd ask about my health, my medications, whether I was remembering to pay bills. I thought she was a good daughter. I thought I was blessed. Monica married Derek 15 years ago. He worked in real estate development, always wore expensive suits, always talked about opportunities and investments. I never warmed to him the way I did to Monica's high school boyfriend, the sweet boy who wrote her poetry. But Derek made her happier, so I thought, and he gave me 2 beautiful grandchildren, Jacob and his younger sister Emma. Jacob was special. Even as a little boy, he was curious, thoughtful, always asking questions that made you stop and think. He loved computers the way some kids love sports. By 12, he was building his own gaming PC. By 13, he was teaching himself programming languages I couldn't pronounce. His parents called it a hobby. I called it a gift. We were close. Jacob and I, every Saturday morning, he'd bike over to my house, and we'd have what we called our breakfast club, just the 2 of us, scrambled eggs and toast, while he told me about whatever he was learning that week. He'd explain algorithms and encryption like they were the most natural things in the world. And I'd listen, not understanding half of it but loving every moment. Those mornings were sacred to me. They reminded me of the time I used to spend with Monica before life got complicated, before she grew up and grew distant in ways I couldn't quite name. The first clue came 6 weeks ago, though I didn't recognize it as a clue at the time. Monica had stopped by on a Tuesday afternoon with a stack of papers. "Just some documents, Mom," she'd said breezily, spreading them across my dining room table. "Power of attorney stuff. Everyone your age should have these in order." She'd been so casual about it, chatting about Emma's piano recital while pointing to signature lines. "Sign here, and here, an initial here." I'd signed. Why wouldn't I? She was my daughter. I trusted her with my life. But I remember now there was something in Derek's expression when he came in from the car. He'd stood in the doorway, watching me sign, and there was this flicker in his eyes. Not warmth, something else, something that looked almost like satisfaction. That same week, Monica suggested I see a new doctor. "Dr. Richardson is wonderful, Mom. He specializes in geriatric care. Just a checkup, nothing serious." I went because Monica insisted. Dr. Richardson was young, professional, and asked me dozens of questions about my memory. Did I ever forget where I put things? Did I sometimes lose track of what day it was? Did I ever feel confused? I laughed. "Doctor, I'm 68, not 28. Of course, I forget where I put my reading glasses sometimes." He'd written something in his notes, nodded slowly. "We'll run some tests, just to be safe." The tests came back concerning. He'd told Monica in a phone call I wasn't supposed to hear. I'd picked up the extension by accident, and heard him say something about early indicators and cognitive decline. When I asked Monica about it, she squeezed my hand and said, "Nothing to worry about, Mom. just normal aging stuff. But her eyes didn't match her words. Then there was the incident at the grocery store. I'd gone to buy ingredients for Jacob's favorite cookies, chocolate chip with walnuts. The recipe Thomas's mother had taught me 50 years ago. When I got to the register, my debit card was declined. The cashier, a sweet girl named Amy who'd known me for years, looked embarrassed. Must be a mistake, Mrs. Whitmore. Try again. It declined 3 more times. I called the bank from the parking lot, my hands trembling as I dialed. The representative put me on hold and came back sounding confused. Mrs. Whitmore, I'm showing that your account access has been restricted. It says here there's a power of attorney override in place. A what? It means someone else has control over your accounts. Let me see. Yes, it's listed here as Monica Hartwell. Is that your daughter? I sat in my car for 20 minutes after that call, staring at the steering wheel, trying to make sense of it. Monica had access to my accounts. When did that happen? Why hadn't she told me? When I called her, she answered on the first ring. Mom, is everything okay? My card was declined at the store. A pause. Just a heartbeat too long. Oh, yes, I meant to tell you. I set up some account protections after you mentioned being confused about your bills last month. Remember, you said you paid the electric company twice by accident. Had I said that? I couldn't remember saying that, but maybe I had. The doubt crept in like cold water. It's for your own good, Mom, Monica continued, her voice smooth, reassuring. You know how much identity theft is happening to seniors these days. This way, I can monitor everything, make sure nothing strange happens. I'll get you a new card with a daily spending limit. Okay, just for peace of mind. Peace of mind. The phrase felt wrong in my mouth, but I swallowed it anyway. Okay, I'd said, if you think that's best. I do, Mom, I really do. Jacob started acting strange about 3 weeks ago. He still came for our Saturday breakfasts, but something had shifted. He was quieter, distracted. He'd stare at his phone with this intense expression, then quickly lock the screen when I looked over. Once, I heard him arguing with Monica in the driveway before he came in sharp, hushed voices that went silent the moment I opened the door. Everything all right, sweetheart? I'd asked. Fine, Grandma. But his smile didn't reach his eyes. He started asking odd questions. Grandma, do you feel like yourself lately? Like, really yourself? What do you mean? I don't know, just ... Do you feel like things are normal? I'd laughed it off, told him I felt fine, but the question bothered me for days afterward. Did I feel like myself? What did that even mean? The truth was, I had been feeling off. Not physically, my health was good for my age, but emotionally, mentally, there was this creeping sense that the ground beneath me wasn't quite solid anymore. Monica's increased involvement in my life, the doctor's appointments, the forgetfulness everyone kept mentioning, it all felt like pieces of a puzzle I couldn't quite see. I started keeping a journal. Nothing fancy, just a small notebook where I wrote down what I did each day. Conversations I had, things I remembered clearly. I wanted proof, though I didn't know yet what I was trying to prove. Tuesday, November 7th, made meatloaf, watched Jeopardy, got 23 questions right, called Ruth, talked for 45 minutes about her grandson's wedding. Memory is clear. Wednesday, November 8th, Monica came by, seemed nervous, asked again about moving in with them temporarily. I said no. She looked at Derek strangely when I refused. Thursday, November 9th, Jacob came over after school, looked upset, wouldn't tell me why, hugged me longer than usual before leaving. That Thursday, the day everything changed, started like any other. I'd spent the morning working in my garden. The November air was crisp, and the last of the chrysanthemums were still blooming, bright orange and yellow against the browning grass. My neighbor Margaret waved from her porch. Looking good, Eleanor, she called. Thank you. Can't let these beauties die just because winter's coming. I was sharp. I was present. I was myself. Jacob showed up around 3 o'clock, earlier than usual for a weekday. He should have been at soccer practice. When I opened the door, his face was pale, his backpack hanging loose from one shoulder. Jacob, what's wrong? Is anyone else here? No, just me. Sweetheart, what's going on? He came inside quickly, locked the door behind him, a gesture so unlike him that my stomach tightened. He dropped his backpack on the floor and pulled out his laptop, fingers flying across the keyboard with that fierce concentration I'd seen 1,000 times before. I need to show you something, Grandma, but you have to promise not to freak out. Jacob, you're scaring me. Good, you should be scared. His voice cracked slightly. I did something bad. I mean, Technically illegal, but I had to. I had to know for sure. He turned the laptop toward me. On the screen was a dashboard. I didn't recognize lots of text messages, timestamps, contact names. What is this? Mom's phone. I cloned it. He said it matter-of-factly, like he was telling me he'd finished his homework. I've been monitoring her messages for 2 weeks. Ever since I heard her and Dad talking late at night about the plan. My mouth went dry. Jacob, you shouldn't just look. Grandma, please, just look at the messages. He clicked on a group chat. Monica's name, Derek's name, Attorney M, and then I started reading. We need to move faster. She's not as confused as Richardson said she'd be. That was Derek. Sent 4 days ago. Give it time. The medications will help with that. Monica. My Monica. Talking about medications, making me confused. What about the house assessment? Can we move forward? Already done. Property's worth $840,000 once she's declared incompetent. We can sell immediately. The market's perfect right now. My house. They were talking about selling my house. Jacob's voice was small beside me. Keep scrolling. Grandma. My hands were shaking, but I scrolled. What if she fights it? What if she gets her own lawyer? She won't. Richardson's diagnosis is solid. We've been documenting her episodes for months. The POA is ironclad, and Jacob, he's been asking questions. He's 14, who's going to believe him over us? I felt something break in my chest, a physical sensation like a bone snapping. There were more messages, so many more. Once the house sells, we can finally pay off the resort investment. We'll be clear. How much time do we have before the creditors start garnishing? 3 months, maybe 4. That's why we need to move now. The picture became horrifyingly clear. Derek's real estate deals hadn't been successful, they'd been disasters. They were drowning in debt. And my home, my savings, everything Thomas and I had built together, was their life raft. And Monica, my daughter, who I'd nursed through chickenpox and heartbreaks, who I'd sent to college with money we'd saved for decades, was helping him do it. There's more, Jacob whispered. He clicked on another thread, this one between Monica and Dr. Richardson. Can you increase the dosage? She needs to be more visibly impaired for the hearing. I can adjust the prescription, but be careful. Too much and it becomes obvious. What medication? I heard myself ask. My voice sounded distant, like it was coming from someone else. Jacob pulled a pill bottle from his backpack. My pill bottle. The one Monica had given me 6 weeks ago for blood pressure. These aren't blood pressure pills, Grandma. I looked up the imprint. They're low dose, but enough to cause confusion, memory problems, disorientation. Especially someone your age who doesn't actually need them. The bottle slipped from my fingers, pills scattering across the kitchen floor, like tiny white accusers. All those times I'd felt foggy, distant, not quite myself. It wasn't age. It wasn't dementia. It was poison. My own daughter had been poisoning me. Jacob was crying now, tears streaming down his face. I didn't want to believe it. I thought maybe I was misunderstanding. But then I found the court documents on Dad's computer. They already filed for guardianship. Grandma, the hearing is in 2 weeks. They have doctor reports, incident logs, everything. They're going to take everything from you, and they're going to make it look legal. I pulled him into my arms. This brave boy who'd risked everything to show me the truth. He sobbed against my shoulder, and I held him while my mind raced. 2 weeks. I had 2 weeks to prove I wasn't incompetent, to prove my own daughter was systematically destroying my life for money. Jacob, I said quietly, pulling back to look at him, I need you to send all of this to my email. Every message, every document you found. Can you do that? He nodded, wiping his eyes with his sleeve. And then I need you to delete any trace that you were ever in her phone. Can you do that too? Already did. I'm careful, Grandma. I covered my tracks. Good boy. I kissed his forehead. Now here's what we're going to do. The first thing I did was stop taking the pills. That night, after Jacob left, I flushed every single one down the toilet and watched them spiral away. Then I called my old friend Ruth, a retired nurse who'd worked with Thomas at the hospital for 30 years. Ruth, I need a favor, and I need you not to ask questions until I explain everything. Eleanor, what's wrong? You sound I need you to take me to a different doctor tomorrow. Not Dr. Richardson. Someone who doesn't know Monica. Someone who can run a real cognitive assessment and a drug screen. There was a long pause. Then Ruth's voice came back, sharp and clear. I'll pick you up at 9. Ruth had always been a good friend. Dr. Patricia Okonkwo was a neurologist Ruth knew from her hospital days. Now in private practice in the next county, She was a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and a no-nonsense manner that reminded me of my mother. Mrs. Whitmore, Ruth tells me you have some concerns about your medical care. I told her everything. About Monica's sudden involvement, about Dr. Richardson's diagnosis, about the pills. I showed her the bottle Jacob had given me. Dr. Okonkwo's expression grew darker with every word. These are not blood pressure medications, she confirmed. These are antipsychotics, typically used for schizophrenia or severe bipolar disorder. In someone without those conditions, especially at your age, they would absolutely cause cognitive impairment, confusion, memory issues. Can you test me? Prove that I'm competent. I can do better than that. I can document what's been done to you. She spent 3 hours with me that day. Cognitive tests, memory assessments, drug screening. She was thorough, methodical, and quietly furious. Mrs. Whitmore, your cognitive function is completely normal for your age. Above average, actually. You scored in the 94th percentile on memory tasks. There is no indication whatsoever of dementia or any cognitive impairment. The relief nearly broke me. Can you write that down? Officially, I'll do more than that. What's been done to you is medical abuse and elder fraud. With your permission, I'd like to report this to Adult Protective Services. Not yet, I said. I need to handle this my way first. But I need your documentation. I need proof. She handed me a sealed envelope, comprehensive assessment results, drug screening showing the antipsychotic in your system, and my professional opinion that you've been deliberately incapacitated. Guard this with your life, Eleanor. The next step was harder. I needed a lawyer, but I couldn't use anyone Monica might know. Ruth suggested her nephew, Marcus Chen, a young attorney who specialized in elder law, and had a reputation for taking on difficult cases. Marcus met me at a coffee shop the next morning. He was in his early 30s, sharp-eyed, carrying a leather briefcase that had seen better days. Mrs. Whitmore, Ruth explained the basics. Before we go further, I need to know, do you have evidence? I pulled out my phone and showed him the screenshots Jacob had sent. Watched his expression change from professional interest to barely contained anger as he read through Monica's messages. My God, he breathed. This is one of the most calculated cases of elder fraud I've ever seen. Can you stop it? Stop it. Mrs. Whitmore, we're going to destroy it. And we're going to make sure your daughter and son-in-law face consequences. He pulled out a yellow legal pad. Here's what we need to do. First, we file an emergency motion to dismiss the guardianship petition. Second, we get a restraining order preventing them from accessing your accounts or property. Third, Dan, this is important, we contacted the medical board about Dr. Richardson. What about Jacob? My voice cracked. He hacked his mother's phone. He could get in trouble. Marcus was quiet for a moment. The evidence he gathered would likely be inadmissible in criminal court because of how it was obtained. But in civil proceedings, especially protective orders, we can use it. And honestly, Mrs. Whitmore, that boy probably saved your life. I spent the next week playing a role I never thought I'd have to play. The oblivious victim. Monica called every day. Her voice saccharine sweet. How are you feeling? Mom, did you take your medication? Yes, honey, I'd lie. My stomach churning. Took it this morning. Any confusion today? Forgetfulness. Oh, you know, I couldn't remember where I put my keys for a few minutes. I could hear the satisfaction in her silence. She thought she was winning. Derek came by on Wednesday with papers. Just a few more signatures, Eleanor. For your protection. I looked at the documents, a deed transfer, disguised in legal jargon. My hand hovered over the signature line while Marcus's words echoed in my mind. Sign nothing. Absolutely nothing. You know, Derek, my eyes have been bothering me lately. All this small print. Can I have my friend Ruth look these over? She's better with legal stuff than I am. His jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. These are time-sensitive, Eleanor. The lawyer needs them by Friday. I'm sure a few more days won't hurt. I smiled, the same smile I'd given him at his wedding. I'll have Ruth bring them by this weekend. He left empty-handed, and I watched from the window as he sat in his car for 10 minutes, phone pressed to his ear, probably calling Monica, probably panicking. Good. Jacob came by that Saturday morning, our usual breakfast time, but this time, Monica dropped him off, walking him to the door. Hi, Mom. She kissed my cheek, and it took everything in me not to flinch. Jacob wanted to see you. I'll pick him up in a couple hours. Okay, of course, sweetheart. The moment her car turned the corner, Jacob's shoulders dropped. This is killing me, Grandma. Sitting at dinner with them, pretending everything's normal. I know, baby. I know. I cracked eggs into a bowl. But it's almost over. The hearing is in 4 days. What if it doesn't work? What if they win? I turned to face him, taking his hands in mine. Jacob, do you remember what you told me when you first learned to code? When you couldn't get that program to work and you were ready to give up? He smiled slightly. You said every problem has a solution. You just have to find the right angle. Exactly. And we found it. Your bravery, your evidence, that's our angle. Marcus says we have a strong case. Mom texted me last night. His voice dropped. She said after the hearing, after you move in with us, we'll all be a family again. She said we could even get a bigger house with the money from selling yours. The casual cruelty of it stole my breath. She was already spending my life savings in her mind, already erasing me from my own home. She doesn't know what's coming, I said quietly, and that's exactly how we want it. Marcus filed the emergency motion on Monday morning, 3 days before Monica's scheduled guardianship hearing. The notice was served to Monica and Derek at their home that afternoon. Marcus called me 20 minutes later. It's done. They've been officially notified that you're contesting the guardianship and filing counterclaims for elder abuse, fraud, and conspiracy. How do you feel? Terrified, I admitted. And relieved. Mostly terrified. That's normal. Eleanor, I need to prepare you. They're going to call. They're going to try to convince you to drop this. They might apologize, make promises, even threaten. Don't engage. Refer them to me. He was right. Monica called 17 times that evening. I let every call go to voicemail. By the 10th message, her voice had transformed from confused to angry to desperate. Mom, what is this? What lawyer? Why would you do this to us? You're making a huge mistake. Derek says this will ruin everything. Please, Mom, we can talk about this. I'm your daughter. Don't you trust me? That last message almost broke me. The audacity of it asking me to trust her while she'd been systematically poisoning me, stealing from me, plotting to erase my entire existence. I saved every voicemail. Marcus said they might be useful. Derek showed up at my door at 10 o'clock that night. I saw his car pull up. Watched him stride up the walkway with that aggressive confidence he always wore like cologne. He pounded on the door hard enough to rattle the frame. Eleanor, open up, we need to talk. I stood in my dark living room, phone in hand with 911 pre-dialed, and said nothing. I know you're in there. Eleanor, you're making a huge mistake. You're confused. That's what this whole guardianship is about. You need help. My neighbor Margaret's porch light flicked on. Then the Johnsons across the street. We've been trying to help you. Derek's voice was getting louder, more frantic. Monica has been killing herself taking care of you. And this is how you repay her. By listening to some ambulance chaser lawyer. I pressed one button. The phone started ringing. 911. What's your emergency? There's a man trying to break into my home. I said calmly. I'm 68 years old and I'm alone. Derek must have heard me through the door because he suddenly went silent. Ma'am, what's the address? I gave it to them. He's my son. I have a protective order pending against him. I didn't, not yet, but Marcus had filed for one. Officers are on their way. Stay on the line with me. Derek's face appeared in my front window, pale in the porch light. Eleanor, don't do this. Please, we're family. Family, I said quietly, though he couldn't hear me. Don't poison each other. The police arrived 6 minutes later. I watched from behind my curtain as they spoke to Derek on my front lawn. Watched him gesture frantically, explaining, justifying. Whatever he told them, it didn't work. They escorted him to his car and watched him drive away. One officer came to my door afterward, a young woman with kind eyes. Mrs. Whitmore, are you all right? I am now. Thank you, officer. We'll include this in our report. Your lawyer should get a copy. She handed me a card. If he comes back, call immediately. Don't hesitate. After she left, I sat in my kitchen and cried for the first time since this began. Not from fear or sadness, but from sheer exhaustion. I was 68 years old, fighting my own daughter in court. Relying on my teenage grandson and a lawyer I'd met a week ago. But I was fighting, and I wasn't confused. I wasn't incompetent. I was Eleanor Whitmore, and I was taking my life back. The morning of the hearing, I dressed carefully, not the soft cardigans Monica had been buying me lately, the ones that made me look frail, elderly, confused. Instead, I wore the navy blue suit I'd worn to Thomas's funeral, professional, dignified, sharp. Ruth picked me up at 8. You look like you're about to run a Fortune 500 company, she said approvingly. I'm about to fight for my life. Close enough. Marcus met us at the courthouse steps. He had his briefcase in one hand and a thick folder in the other. "Eleanor, are you ready?" "As I'll ever be." "Remember what we discussed. Stay calm. Answer clearly. Don't let them bait you into anger. The judge needs to see the competent, intelligent woman I've been working with all week." We walked through the metal detectors, down the marble hallway that echoed with footsteps and murmured conversations. And then I saw them. Monica and Derek stood outside courtroom 3B with their attorney. A silver-haired man in an expensive suit. Monica looked smaller than I remembered, her face drawn and pale. When she saw me, something flickered in her eyes, surprise, maybe, or fear. "Mom," she started toward me, but Marcus stepped between us. "Mrs. Hartwell, you know you're not supposed to approach my client." "She's my mother." Monica's voice cracked. "I just want to talk to her." "You had 68 years to talk to her. You chose to drug her instead." Monica's attorney put a hand on her arm. "Not here, Monica." Derek's face was red, his jaw clenched. He looked at me with such hatred that I instinctively took a step back. "You're destroying this family," he hissed. "Over a misunderstanding. Over nothing." "Mr. Hartwell," Marcus said coolly, "I'd suggest you save your comments for the judge." The courtroom was smaller than I expected, wood-paneled and formal. Judge Patricia Brennan presided, a woman in her early 60s with steel-gray hair and reading glasses perched on her nose. She looked like someone who'd heard every excuse and believed none of them. "This is case number 2024 GC 8847. Petition for guardianship of Eleanor Whitmore, filed by Monica Hartwell," the bailiff announced. Judge Brennan looked up. "I understand we have a contested guardianship and counterclaims filed. This is going to be a long morning. Let's begin." Monica's attorney, Richard Stapleton, went first. He painted a picture of a concerned daughter, a declining mother, a family trying to do the right thing. "Your Honor, Mrs. Hartwell has documented numerous incidents of confusion and memory loss. Mrs. Whitmore's physician, Dr. Richardson, has diagnosed early-stage dementia. Bank records show erratic spending. Neighbors have reported concerning behavior." He presented a thick binder of evidence. Incident logs dating back months. "September 12th, called my daughter 3 times asking the same question. September 19th, left stove on, nearly caused fire. October 3rd, got lost driving to the grocery store she's visited for 40 years. I listened to these carefully constructed lies and felt my hands ball into fists under the table. Marcus squeezed my arm gently. "Wait," Dr. Richardson testified next, via video call. He sat in his office, professional and serious, and lied under oath. Mrs. Whitmore exhibited clear signs of cognitive decline, memory deficits, confusion, disorientation. I recommended guardianship for her own protection. "Dr. Richardson," Judge Brennan interrupted, "did you perform a comprehensive neurological assessment?" A pause. "I performed standard cognitive screening." "That's not what I asked." "No, Your Honor, not a comprehensive assessment." "I see, continue." Then it was our turn. Marcus stood, and there was something almost predatory in his calm demeanor. "Your Honor, what we have here is not a concerned daughter. What we have is one of the most calculated cases of elder fraud this court will ever see." He presented our evidence methodically, like building blocks. First, Dr. Okonkwo's assessment. A comprehensive neurological evaluation performed 1 week ago shows Mrs. Whitmore has completely normal cognitive function for her age. No signs of dementia, no memory deficits, nothing to justify guardianship. Then the drug screening. This test shows Mrs. Whitmore had antipsychotic medication in her system, medication she was told was for blood pressure, medication that would cause exactly the symptoms Dr. Richardson diagnosed. Monica's face went white. Marcus held up the pill bottle. "These pills were given to Mrs. Whitmore by her daughter, Monica Hartwell. They are not blood pressure medication. They are powerful antipsychotics that cause confusion, memory problems, and disorientation in patients who don't need them." "Your Honor." Stapleton stood quickly. "We had no knowledge. Sit down." "Mr. Stapleton, you'll have your chance." Judge Brennan's voice was ice. Then came the messages. Marcus had printed them, enlarged them, mounted them on boards. Every damning word Monica and Derek had written, displayed for the court to see. "We need to move faster before she figures it out. Richardson's diagnosis should be enough to get the house. Once we sell, we can pay off the creditors. 3 months until garnishment. We're running out of time." I watched Monica as the judge read through them, watched the color drain from her face, watched her hands start to tremble. She looked like she might be sick. "Mrs. Hartwell," Judge Brennan's voice could have frozen water, Did you write these messages? Monica's attorney leaned over, whispered frantically. She shook her head. Mrs. Hartwell, I asked you a question. Your Honor. Her voice was barely audible. Those were taken out of context. Out of context. The judge's eyebrow raised. Please explain the context in which once she's declared incompetent, we can sell immediately as acceptable. Silence. Marcus continued. Your Honor, Mr. and Mrs. Hartwell are facing severe financial difficulties. Derek Hartwell's real estate ventures have failed, leaving them with over $600,000 in debt. Creditors are threatening garnishment. Mrs. Whitmore's home fully paid, worth approximately $840,000, became their solution. He presented bank records, foreclosure notices, collection agency letters. The evidence mounted like stones on Monica's chest. They couldn't simply ask Mrs. Whitmore for money. She would have said no, or worse, investigated their finances. So they created a crisis. They made her appear incompetent through medication, obtained power of attorney through deception, and filed for guardianship to legally seize her assets. Judge Brennan removed her glasses, rubbing the bridge of her nose. Mr. Stapleton, I'm going to ask you directly, were you aware of any of this when you filed the guardianship petition? No, Your Honor. Absolutely not. Then I suggest you have a very serious conversation with your clients about legal ethics and honesty. This court does not appreciate being used as a tool for fraud. She turned to Monica and Derek. Stand up, both of you. They stood slowly, Derek's hand gripping Monica's elbow like he was the only thing keeping her upright. At that moment, looking at my daughter across the courtroom, I saw her clearly for the first time in months, maybe in years. She wasn't the little girl who used to pick dandelions for me. She wasn't the teenager who cried on my shoulder after her first heartbreak. She was a stranger wearing my daughter's face, and that stranger had tried to erase me from existence. Judge Brennan's voice was measured, but underneath it was a fury that made the air feel heavy. I have been a judge for 23 years. I have seen families torn apart by addiction, by mental illness, by tragedy. But what I'm seeing here is different. What I'm seeing is a daughter who looked at her elderly mother and saw a bank account, a son-in-law who saw real estate, and both of you conspired to make her appear incompetent so you could legally steal everything she had. Your Honor, Derek started. I didn't give you permission to speak, Mr. Hartwell. Her words were like a gavel strike. You will remain silent while I render my decision. He closed his mouth, but I could see the vein pulsing in his temple. The petition for guardianship is denied. Not just denied, dismissed with prejudice, meaning it cannot be filed again. Mrs. Whitmore has demonstrated complete cognitive competency. The evidence of elder abuse and fraud is overwhelming and will be referred to the district attorney's office for potential criminal charges. Monica made a sound half gasp, half sob. Furthermore, I am issuing an emergency protective order. Monica Hartwell and Derek Hartwell are prohibited from contacting Eleanor Whitmore directly or indirectly. They are prohibited from entering her property. They are prohibited from accessing any of her financial accounts or assets. Violation of this order will result in immediate arrest. Marcus squeezed my hand under the table. We'd won. We'd actually won. But Judge Brennan wasn't finished. I'm also ordering a full investigation into Dr. Richardson's medical practices. Prescribing antipsychotic medication under false pretenses is medical malpractice at minimum. Conspiracy to commit fraud at worst. The state medical board will be notified. She looked at me then, her expression softening slightly. Mrs. Whitmore, I apologize on behalf of this court that you had to experience this. No parent should have to defend themselves against their own child in this way. Your power of attorney is hereby revoked. All accounts and assets are restored to your sole control. Thank you, Your Honor. I managed. My voice sounded distant to my own ears. There is one more matter. Judge Brennan shuffled through papers. The evidence presented includes electronic communications that were obtained through, let's say, unconventional means. While I cannot ignore what's been presented, I need to address how this evidence came to light. My heart stopped. Jacob. Marcus stood smoothly. Your Honor, if I may, the source of the electronic evidence wished to remain anonymous. A concerned family member who witnessed troubling behavior and felt compelled to investigate. A concerned family member who happens to be skilled in computer technology. I cannot confirm or deny that, Your Honor. Judge Brennan was quiet for a long moment. Then, surprisingly, she almost smiled. In my professional opinion, that family member may have saved Mrs. Whitmore's life. While I cannot officially condone their methods, I also cannot ignore the results. No charges will be recommended regarding the procurement of evidence. The relief made me dizzy. We're adjourned. Mrs. Whitmore, you're free to go. Mr. and Mrs. Hartwell, I suggest you speak with your attorney about the very serious legal jeopardy you're now facing. The courthouse hallway felt like it stretched for miles. Ruth had her arm around my waist, steadying me. Marcus walked ahead, briefcase swinging, already on the phone with someone about the next steps. Behind us, I could hear Monica crying deep, wrenching sobs that once would have made me turn around. Made me comfort her. I didn't turn around. Outside, the November sun was bright and cold. I stood on the courthouse steps, breathing in the crisp air, feeling the weight of the past months begin to lift. Eleanor, Monica's voice behind me. Mom, please. I turned. She stood 10 feet away, mascara streaking her face, hands clutched in front of her like she was praying. Derek was gone, probably fled to the parking lot, probably already blaming her for everything. Please, just let me explain. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. We were desperate. Derek's business failed, and the debt collectors were calling every day, and I was so scared, so you decided to steal from me. My voice was steady, colder than I'd ever heard it. To poison me? To make me believe I was losing my mind. I didn't want to, but Derek said it was the only way, and I thought maybe you wouldn't even notice. Maybe it would be easier for you to just let us handle everything. Easier for me to be drugged and declared incompetent. Easier for me to lose my home, my dignity, my sense of self. She reached toward me, and I stepped back. Don't, I said quietly. Don't touch me. I'm your daughter. No. The word came out stronger than I expected. My daughter died somewhere along the way. I don't know when. Maybe when you married Derek. Maybe before. But the woman standing in front of me, the woman who could look me in the eye every day, while slowly destroying me, she's not my daughter. She's someone I don't know anymore. Mom, please, Mrs. Whitmore. Marcus appeared at my elbow. We should go. The protective order is now in effect. Monica's face crumpled. What about Jacob? What about Emma? You can't just cut us all off for the first time. My voice cracked. You used my grandchildren as cover while you stole from me. You made Jacob choose between his mother and his grandmother. What you did to those children, making them complicit in your lies, that might be worse than what you did to me. I never wanted to hurt them. I never wanted to hurt you. And yet you did. Repeatedly, methodically. For months. Ruth tugged my arm gently. Come on, Eleanor, let's go home. Home, my home, still mine. I let Ruth guide me toward the parking lot. Behind me, I heard Monica collapse on the courthouse steps, sobbing. Part of me, the mother part, the part that had loved her since before she was born, wanted to go back. I wanted to comfort her, fix this, make it right. But I kept walking. Jacob was waiting on my front porch. When we arrived, he stood up as the car pulled into the driveway, hands shoved deep in his pockets, his face pale and anxious. The moment I got out, he ran to me. Grandma, what happened? Mom won't answer her phone, and Dad's been locked in his office all day, and I held him tight. This brave, brilliant boy who'd saved me. We won, sweetheart. We won. He pulled back, eyes wide. Really? The judge believed us. Every word. You're a hero, Jacob. You know that. He started crying, then deep, relieved sobs that shook his whole body. I was so scared. I kept thinking, what if I got you in trouble? What if the evidence wasn't enough? What if they took you away and I never saw you again? I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. The weeks that followed were strange. Like learning to walk again after a long illness. Marcus helped me change all my passwords, close the joint accounts Monica had opened, and secure my finances. The bank was horrified when they learned what had happened. The manager, a kind man named Robert who'd known Thomas, personally apologized and flagged my accounts with extra security measures. Mrs. Whitmore, I'm so sorry we didn't catch this. We should have questioned the power of attorney setup. You trusted a daughter caring for her mother, I told him. That's not something to apologize for. That's something they exploited. Dr. Richardson's medical license was suspended pending investigation. 3 other elderly patients came forward with similar stories, family members who'd received questionable dementia diagnoses, medications that caused more problems than they solved. The medical board was building a case that would likely end his career. I felt no satisfaction in that, just a deep, weary sadness that this kind of evil existed in the world. The hardest part was Emma, Monica's daughter. My youngest grandchild was only 10, too young to understand why grandma couldn't see her anymore. Why family dinners stopped. Why everything fell apart. She sent me a letter 3 weeks after the hearing. Monica must have helped her mail it before the protective order details were fully explained. The envelope had a crayon drawing on it, a house with a tree, 2 stick figures holding hands. Inside, in careful 4th grade handwriting, "Dear Grandma, I miss you. Mom cries a lot now. Dad is always angry. Jacob won't talk to anyone. Did I do something wrong? I'm sorry if I did. I love you. Please come back. Emma." I cried for an hour after reading that letter. Ruth found me at my kitchen table, the letter clutched in my hands. "Oh, Eleanor. She's 10 years old. She doesn't understand. She thinks I abandoned her." "You didn't abandon anyone. You protected yourself. But she's suffering. She's an innocent child and she's suffering because of what her parents did." Ruth sat down across from me, took my hands. "Yes, she is. And that's Monica's fault, not yours. Monica made choices that hurt her own children. You stopping those choices doesn't make you the villain. Then why does it feel like I am? Because you're a good person. Good people feel pain when children hurt, even when they're not responsible for that hurt." I called Marcus the next day. "Is there any way I can see Emma?" "Just Emma. Supervised. Somewhere Monica and Derek can't be." He was quiet for a long moment. "Legally, the protective order doesn't extend to the children. But Eleanor, you need to think carefully about this. Any contact gives Monica an opening. She could use Emma to manipulate you, to make you feel guilty, to slowly work her way back into your life." "I know, but Marcus, she's 10, and she thinks I stopped loving her." He sighed. "Let me see what I can arrange." We met at a park halfway between our homes, supervised by a court-appointed family therapist named Dr. Lisa Martinez. Emma ran to me the moment she saw me, wrapping her small arms around my waist. "Grandma, I missed you so much." I held her, breathing in the strawberry scent of her shampoo, feeling her heartbeat against mine. "I missed you too, sweetheart. So much?" We sat on a bench while Dr. Martinez watched from a respectful distance. Emma swung her legs, not quite reaching the ground. "Mom said you're mad at her. Dad said you're trying to hurt our family." I chose my words carefully. "I'm not mad, honey. I'm hurt. Your mom and dad did some things that weren't right, things that hurt me very badly, and I had to protect myself." "Did it have something to do with Jacob? He's been really sad. He stays in his room all the time now." My heart ached. "Jacob did something very brave. He helped me when I needed help. That's all you need to know about that. Can't you just forgive them? That's what you always told me to do when I fight with my friends. Forgive and forget." "Some things are harder to forgive than others, Emma, and forgetting isn't always the right thing to do. Sometimes we need to remember, so we can protect ourselves from being hurt again." She was quiet, processing this with her 10-year-old wisdom. "Do you still love me?" "Oh baby." I pulled her close. "I will always love you. Always. What happened between me and your parents has nothing to do with how much I love you and Jacob. Do you understand that?" She nodded against my shoulder. "Can we still have our tea parties? Remember how we used to have tea parties in your garden?" "Someday," I promised. "When things are better, when it's safe." "Safe from what?" "Just ... safe. That's all." The district attorney filed charges in January. Monica and Derek were charged with elder abuse, fraud, conspiracy, and identity theft. Dr. Richardson faced separate charges of medical malpractice and conspiracy. Their trial is set for next spring. Marcus says it's likely they'll take a plea deal, probably some combination of restitution, probation, and community service. Maybe jail time, though likely not much. "The system is imperfect," Marcus told me, "but at least there will be consequences. At least there's a record of what they did." I think about that sometimes, about what justice means. Is it punishment? Restitution? Preventing it from happening to someone else? I don't have answers. I just know that every morning, I wake up in my own home, in the bed I shared with Thomas for 40 years. And I take no pills except the ones my new doctor prescribed after thorough testing. I know who I am. I know my mind is sharp. That has to be enough. Jacob still comes for breakfast every Saturday. Monica fought it at first, tried to forbid him, but Jacob is 14 and stubborn, and the court agreed that he's old enough to make his own choices about seeing me. He rides his bike over, lets himself in with the key I gave him, and makes scrambled eggs while I set the table. We don't talk about Monica much. Some wounds are too fresh. Instead, we talk about his coding projects, about the college programs he's researching, about the future he's building. He's applying for a cybersecurity scholarship, says he wants to help protect people who can't protect themselves. "Like you protected me," I told him last week. "Like we protected each other," he corrected. He's wise beyond his years, my grandson. This whole experience aged him in ways that break my heart, but it also showed him what he's capable of, and showed him his own strength. I hope that counts for something. Last week, I planted new flowers in my garden. Margaret came over to help, bringing cuttings from her roses. We worked in comfortable silence, the way old friends do, our hands in the soil, the spring sun warm on our backs. You doing okay, Eleanor? She asked eventually. Really, okay. I sat back on my heels, wiping dirt from my hands. Most days, yes. Some days I wake up and can't believe my own daughter did this to me. Some days I miss her so much it physically hurts. And some days I'm just grateful to be here, in my home, in my right mind. That's more than okay. That's healing. Maybe she's right. Maybe this is what healing looks like, not forgetting, not pretending it didn't happen, but learning to carry it without letting it destroy you. I keep Emma's letter in my nightstand drawer, next to the last photo of Monica and me, together taken at Jacob's 8th grade graduation, both of us smiling, my arm around her shoulders. I look at it sometimes, trying to find the moment where things changed. Where my daughter decided that money was worth more than her mother's life. I never found it. Maybe there wasn't a single moment, maybe it was 1,000 small choices, each one taking her further from the person she used to be. Or maybe I never really knew her at all. People ask me sometimes if I regret fighting back, if part of me wishes I'd just let it happen, keep the peace. Avoid all this pain and fracture. The answer is no, never, because what Monica and Derek tried to do wasn't just about money or houses, it was about erasing me, making me doubt my own mind, my own memories, my own existence. It was about turning me into a ghost in my own life, and I refused to become a ghost. I'm Eleanor Whitmore. I'm 68 years old. I have a sharp mind, a beautiful home, a grandson who loves me enough to risk everything, and a future that still holds possibility. They tried to take that from me. But I'm still here. I tell you this story not for pity, but as a warning and a reminder. Elder abuse happens in families that look perfect from the outside. It happens in nice neighborhoods, in educated families, in homes where you'd never expect it, and it's rarely obvious. No bruises, no screaming, just slowly, methodically, the stripping away of dignity, autonomy, and self. If you're elderly, and someone in your family is suddenly very interested in your finances, your health, your forgetfulness, be cautious, ask questions, get second opinions, trust your instincts. And if you know someone who's vulnerably a parent, a grandparent, a neighbor, pay attention, visit them, listen to them. Sometimes the only thing standing between an elder and abuse is one person who notices. Who cares enough to ask, "Are you really okay?" Jacob was that person for me. A 14-year-old boy who loved his grandmother enough to break the rules. To stand up to his parents, to do what was right, even when it was terrifying. We all need someone like that in our lives. And we all need to be that person for someone else. Would you have had the courage to do what Jacob did? To stand up to your own parents to protect someone you love? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story touched you, if it made you think or feel or remember someone in your own life who might need protection, subscribe. Let's make sure stories like mine don't stay silent. Because silence is what people like Monica and Derek count on. And I refuse to be silent anymore.